Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist, and today we're going to talk about a relationship issue. It's actually one of the most common relationship problems that I've heard about in my career, and it is someone feeling like they are doing all the work in their relationship. Someone feeling resentful, like they are putting in all the effort, doing all the work, and their partner isn't. And so this can create a tremendous problem in a relationship. Why? Because it can affect a person's mood. If you feel like you're the one doing all the work, you might feel this every single day in the relationship. And you know what? What's the difference between anger and resentment or frustration and resentment? Well, anger and frustration you can feel in the moment, but resentment is accumulated. So, with resentment, you get the accumulation of many different days of feeling resentful or angry. And that is the risk. If you are someone who feels really resentful in your relationship, you have to be careful because resentment is a heavy load to carry. And we can even sometimes feel some of that resentment in our bodies. It can make us feel stressed and tense and just overall uncomfortable. All right. So, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm not just going to talk about this issue and I'm not just going to talk about different ways that you can try to deal with this issue. I'm actually going to give you some tools and techniques that are evidence based to deal with the frustration you feel if you're someone who feels like you're doing all the work in the relationship. All right. I want to borrow from a type of therapy that is extremely helpful. It's called acceptance and commitment therapy. And I'll share a few tools that you can use from it. So you feel like you're doing all the work in the relationship. First thing to do is accept it. You have to accept the fact that this is how you're feeling. And one way to do that is to say to yourself, I notice that I am doing all the work in this relationship. I notice that I'm doing all the work in this relationship. I notice that I'm feeling frustrated lately because I'm doing all the work. You're accepting it. You're calling it what it is. You're not trying to sugarcoat it. You're not trying to lie to yourself. You're not trying to pretend. You're not trying to take the problem and push it under the rug and avoid it. You're accepting it. It is what it is. So you notice it. You accept it. All right. Now, the next thing you can do is you can try to get a little distance from that. So you have the thought that you're doing all the work in the relationship. Now, here's the thing. A lot of times we can get stuck in that negative thought, stuck in the thought where we can't get out of it. It is all encompassing. So you feel frustrated, like you're doing all the work, and you tell yourself, I do everything in this relationship. I do everything all the time. I constantly am the one putting in all the work. Well, the thing is, that thought is very extreme. It may be true, but you can get stuck in that thought and you want to get a little distance from that thought. Take that thought and create distance with this technique. Say, I'm having the thought that I'm doing more of the work in this relationship. I'm having the thought that dot, dot, dot. Do you see? It doesn't present it as much of a true fact that you can get stuck in. You can get so focused on and dig your heels in. Just look again at that difference. I do all the work in my relationship versus I'm having the thought that I'm doing all the work in the relationship. There's a difference. The second one, I'm having the thought that it creates a little distance so you don't also have to feel so wrapped up in the emotion associated with that thought. See, when you say, I'm doing all the work in this relationship, it's both a thought and an intense feeling. So it's very powerful, it's very strong. Of course, it's easy to get stuck. You've matched it, the intensity of the thought and the intensity of the feeling. So, what we do is we take that intense thought, I'm doing all the work in this relationship, and we modulate, we reduce the intensity of the feeling a little bit with, I'm having the thought that I'm doing all the work in this relationship. Do you see? That can make us feel a little distance feel a little detached from it. If you get too fused between that intense thought and that intense feeling, you can get stuck in it and it can last for a while. And that is not good for you. So you want to defuse the intensity of that thought and the feeling with a simple technique. I'm having the thought that I'm doing all the work in this relationship. All right. That is super important. A technique that I think is one of the most helpful techniques that ACT therapy gives us. Now, the next technique is to take a look at your values on this issue. So, you're in a relationship and you feel like you are doing all the work in that relationship and you're feeling frustrated and resentful because of it. All right. Well, let's take a look at your values. Ask yourself this: what kind of partner do I want to be, even if I happen to be feeling really resentful? What kind of partner do I want to be in this circumstance? All right. That is really helpful to make you take a step back and say, well, I'm annoyed and angry. And maybe you feel on an immediate level like you want to get upset and tell them, or maybe you even feel like you want to blame them. That's understandable on a feeling level, but that is not good for the relationship. So when you look at your values, ask yourself, well, what is your value on this issue? What kind of partner do you want to be when you get to a point where you feel really resentful or frustrated? What kind of partner do you want to be? Why? Because you get to decide. All right. Now, another thing that you can do is you can think about other values that you have on this issue. So, in a relationship, when there are problems or when you feel negative feelings, well, what is your value about assertiveness? Do you value assertiveness in relationships? Do you value healthy, gentle assertiveness in a relationship? Do you believe that when you're in a relationship or when your partner is in the relationship and has certain feelings, that they have the right to assert themselves, to assert their needs, and to assert what they want in the situation? You probably value that assertiveness, and that's a healthy thing. Well, if you value assertiveness in the relationship and you are feeling resentful, you know what that means. You can gently assert how you feel with your partner. And finally, the last point that I want to talk about is, what committed action can you take? What committed action can you take to try to do your best to work towards some kind of a solution to this relationship problem? And that involves setting a clear and fair boundary with your partner. One example would be, if you feel like you are doing all of the work in this relationship, then you can take one thing such as chores. Look at the chores that you're doing and the chores that your partner is doing. And you, in a conversation, gently and fairly can say, I feel I am doing more chores in the relationship, and I would like us to begin splitting the chores. Specifically, I would like to ask if you would start doing, and then you can name a few specific chores. That is reasonable, it is fair, it is clear. You are taking a committed action to try to help solve this problem. All right? I hope some of these techniques that I am using from ACT therapy can be helpful to you. And the point is, nothing really gets better just by wishful or magical thinking. Resentment in a relationship, we have to be really, really, really careful about, because it can keep accumulating and growing, and it can really be harmful to relationships in the end if we aren't careful. So, I want you to be careful and try some of these techniques if you feel like they may be helpful. You may also find some other videos on my channel here, Dr. Seth Psychologist, helpful. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you next time.